Let's go back to one of the most unforgettable, tense moments in NFL draft history. It was the night of April 26 across the green room, and they found UCLA quarterback Josh Rosen. He wasn't smiling. He had been waiting for his name for over an hour, sitting there while the picks flew off the board. When it finally came at pick number 10, he didn't revenge tour. So, what actually happened? Did Josh Rosen have a crystal ball? Understand why that line hit like a bomb. You have to remember what people thought of Josh Rosen before that night. Coming out of UCLA, he was the prototype. Scouts called him the most pro-ready, most polished passer in the draft. He had a quick release, he was accurate, and he ran a pro-style offense. Rosen was the safe bet. He was the guy with the highest floor. One analyst even said he was the most talented pro-style quarterback he'd seen in years. The expectation was simple. He would walk in, start immediately, and raise the floor of whatever franchise picked him. But even with all that talent, there was another side to the scouting report. It wasn't about his arm. It was about his mouth and his attitude, and promised he'd be the last one standing. The confidence didn't feel quiet or internal. It felt loud, and to some people it felt arrogant. One scout called him a walking contradiction, and on draft night the NFL seemed to agree. Pick after pick went by. Cleveland, New York again, Buffalo, all passing. The so-called safest pick in the draft was the one free-falling. So let's look at those 9 mistakes. Right from the start, some of them made Rosen's promise look shaky. At number 2, the New York Giants took running back Saquon Barkley, Super Bowl. Tough to call that a mistake. At number 6, the Indianapolis Colts took guard Quentin Nelson. He didn't just become a starter. He became a first-team All-Pro, arguably the best guard in football and a complete franchise changer. At number 4, the Cleveland Browns took cornerback Denzel Ward, who made the Pro Bowl in his second season. These weren't controversial picks then, and they look like brilliant picks now. But the real story, the one Rosen was really talking about, wasn't the obvious stars. It was the quarterbacks. This is where it gets interesting. Baker Mayfield goes first to Cleveland. Sam Darnold goes third to the Jets. Josh Allen goes 7th to Buffalo. And for a while, it looked like Rosen might get the last laugh. Mayfield struggled, got traded to Carolina, and was eventually cut. Darnold was labeled a bust in New York after throwing too many interceptions. Remember the "I'm seeing ghosts" game? And Josh Allen? People said he was too raw, that his accuracy would never work at the NFL level. But here's the thing about the NFL. It will give you chance after chance if you give it a reason to. And these guys did. Baker Mayfield fought his way back. He went to the Rams, played well, and earned a starting job in Tampa Bay. He didn't quit. He changed his narrative from a bust to a leader. Sam Darnold kept working. He went to Carolina, then to San Francisco as a backup, then to Minnesota. He stayed ready, and last season, he was on a team playing meaningful football in January. And Josh Allen? That raw project worked on his game year after year and turned himself into an MVP candidate and one of the most dangerous players in the league. The league doesn't have a problem with confidence. You need it to survive. But there's a difference between believing you're the best and proving it when everything goes wrong. Mayfield, Darnold, and Allen proved it. They got hit. The mistakes didn't stop at 9, because after he was picked 10th, the entire league kept passing on another quarterback. Lamar Jackson sat in that green room until the very last pick of the first round. 31 teams passed on him, some saying he should switch to receiver. That mistake of letting him fall to Baltimore turned into a 2-time MVP, one of the most dynamic players the sport has ever seen. So from Josh Rosen's perspective, there weren't 9 mistakes ahead of him. There were more like 20. Now, let's be fair. Josh Rosen walked into a terrible situation in Arizona. The roster was bad. The coaching was unstable. It was a situation designed for failure. He played one season, threw 11 touchdowns to 14 interceptions, and the very next year, the Cardinals used the number 1 overall pick on his replacement, Kyler Murray. They traded Rosen to Miami for a second-round pick, and this is where the lesson becomes clear. Miami gave him a shot. It didn't work. Then Tampa Bay gave him a shot as a backup. Then Atlanta. Then he was on practice squads. The opportunities dried up. And it's not like the NFL is against second chances. We just saw it give them to Baker and Sam. But with Rosen, the belief faded. Fast. When you stand up at your draft party and declare war on the league, You better be ready to win that war. The other guys fought their wars in the film room and on the field year after year. They accepted their role, they learned the system, and they endured the humiliation of being benched or cut. Rosen's war seemed to end the moment he put on an NFL helmet and realized that being the smartest guy in the room didn't mean he was the best quarterback on the field. Inability to adapt when things got tough. So when you watch that clip back now, it's not really about whether Saquon Barkley or Josh Allen were mistakes. Some became superstars, some had to scrap for every chance they got. The point is what that statement revealed about Josh Rosen himself. In a league where you have to prove yourself every single day, where first-round picks get humbled all the time, Rosen acted like he had already done the proving. He thought the hard part was over once he got drafted. He thought his pedigree and his high school accolades were enough to carry him. But for everyone else in that green room, the guys who became stars, and the guys who had to fight just to stay on a roster, they all knew the hard part was just beginning. They understood that the NFL doesn't care about where you were drafted. It only cares about what you did on the last snap. That draft night quote wasn't a prediction. It was a diagnosis. And the NFL over the next few years wrote the prescription. The league moved on. The games went on. And Josh Rosen became a cautionary tale about why, in the NFL, silence is often